Hi, Tim here from World of Sleuths. Here with another current reads. I know it's been a couple weeks since my last one, but I was in reading so far around for about 3 weeks. And it's also health problems. Before I go on, I'll explain. I've told you that I have health problems, and my reading slumps are actually tied in with my health problems. See, for 2.5 years now, I've had the daily migraines, and I never know when they'll come on. Sometimes I'll be here. Come on in the morning, sometimes later on in the day, but now I get them daily, which sometimes I can read when I have them, but see, along with them I have light sensitivity issues and other problems, so sometimes I can read when I'm having migraines lying down. Sometimes I might be able to read them on a e-reader if I have the brightness turned down most of the way, but other times I can't read anything. I pretty much have to lie down in a completely dark room. And to make things even worse, over the past 3 years, I've had 3 blackouts that doctors don't even know what caused them. First one was like 3 years ago next month. That lasted a little over an hour, and then 2 months after that, that one lasted a little bit longer, and both times my concentration was affected from that, and I noticed my memory was affected some from it and stuff, and I noticed my reading was affected some from it, and my reading speed and everything. Well, then 15 months after that second one, I had one that lasted 2 hours. That was 18 months ago. But that one really affected my reading. And after that one, for a while, I was reading like some of these more like children's books in the public domain just to get back to reading. I was reading like Rick Brant novels and stuff like that, just to get back to reading and working my way back to adult novels. And because a lot of these novels I read are like 400 pages or more pages long, and like I said, when I have these migraines, sometimes I can't read at all. And also, that's something I've noticed with these. I cannot read much over 150 pages in a day, otherwise I'll pretty much won't be able to read for a couple of days, because I'll just have a strong headache for a couple of days after that. It's like 150, 170 pages is my limit for a day. That's something I've noticed lately. I tried to do these 24-hour marathon back in the spring, and that's something I noticed back then, and I could read for almost a week there. So that's why I'm a slower reader, and also why why sometimes I'm in like a reading slump. But with that said, I'll get to my books. I did finish 2 books this week. I finally finished that, and sorry, the books I finished, I don't have any covers to show or pictures to show. The first one was a library book, which I had to turn in. It was due yesterday. The book was Into a Raging Blaze by Andreas Norman, a Swedish author. It was translated into English by Ian Giles. It's about a Swedish diplomat. Her name is Karina Dymek, who went to a regular working meeting in Brussels, and on the last day there, before coming home, she was approached by a guy at the meeting that she figured worked for the European Union, and he handed her a USB stick, and he told her that he figured she'd know what to do with it. Well, she gets back to Sweden. She just briefly looks at it, and she passes it on to some officials at the Ministry of Justice that she figured, okay, they're the appropriate ones to pass it on to. Next thing she knows, she's called into her boss's office, and she gets suspended, and then interrogation begins, and pretty much her life goes into a downward spiral, and she figures the only way she can clear herself is to find this Gene, but that's what the guy told her his name was. But that's a common name, or Jean. It's probably how I figure it's pronounced. But that's a common name in the European Union among the boards there and stuff. And so she's trying to find him, and at the same time, she's being investigated, and so, and well, I'll leave it from there. I'll leave a link of my review to my review down below. I gave it a rating of 3 out of 5 stars. The other book I finished earlier today. I got for that one, I had gotten a message on Goodreads from Lee Sherrod, an author. He had just come out with the book earlier this year. He's a former British military and police officer in England, and he wrote a book called Lines of Justice, Ostaja or something like that. I can't pronounce it. It's like a Serbian, that name, that last part, and it's about Dean Sampson, a former British military. He was in a parachute regiment and turned into and switched over to the Royal Military Police, and was with United Nations troops in Kosovo in 1999, and came across a site just after, like, when even before the torture ended on a guy and whose family was tortured and killed. This was a brutal and horrific, very gruesome torture, and all of a sudden they noticed movement in the room, and they caught this guy, and it was another Serbian. You see, this guy that was being tortured was a Serbian policeman, and like his feet were cut off and his hands, and he died not long after they got him. Well, anyway, they caught this guy, but it's hard to explain how they couldn't say he was one that actually did the torture, and he ended up getting released to the Serbians. Well, now it's present day, and Dean Sampson is now with the British police in England, and guy that was an interpreter for them, his team that came across this guy, around all of his team were haunted by this ever since, and the interpreter ends up being found tortured. His body was found and was tortured the same way, and so he decides he's going to go after this guy, and I'll leave that at that point. And I gave it a rating of 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, now for the books I'm going to start reading. Okay, Kay Tao the other day announced that she's going to be doing Cloak and Dagger Christmas. I've heard, okay, sounds like something I could do since I read mysteries and thrillers. And I haven't read any James Patterson, but I picked up a bunch of the books in the Alex Cross series at a library sale a couple months ago. And I figured, okay, what better way to get introduced to James Patterson books than that way. And no, I have not watched you on television. For some reason, it wasn't seemed appealing to me. So I'm about to start to read Along Came a Spider by James Patterson. I haven't really read much on the book series. I had heard that it's a good series also. And then I have Kiss the Girls. I do not have Jack and Jill, but I went to the library. Say, I live in Rockwood, Illinois, and we have a good sized library system here. So I went to the branch library over by me. It's like not even a mile from me, and they didn't have a copy there, and I asked them if there was one anywhere in the system that they could get over. They said in all the Rockwood Library there's only one branch with the one in. All the others have been lost. They said, well, it's an older book and stuff. Well, anyway, they said that and I haven't been able to drive with my health problems for 3 years, so they are getting it shipped to this library, sent to this library, and so hopefully it will be in before I'm done with Kiss the Girls. They'll be sending me an email when it gets in. Then after that I have Cat and Mouse. Pop Goes the Weasel. Roses Are Red. And Violets Are Blue. So that's enough to keep me busy reading for a while, since I know, like, not just the Along Came a Spider is over 500 pages long. I figure around all of them are about that length too, so they'll be keeping me busy. I think it will take more than through December to finish all those. Well, that's all I have for this time. So until next time, take it easy and keep on reading.